Pandas. Pandas Pandas is a Python library that you use to work with data in the field of data science and the data analysis. You use it to get sheets, get Excel files, CSV files, and work with this data, sum the data, see some aspects of the data, make medians, make analysis of the data. The library is a code that someone made and they shared it with others, and this code becomes so popular that someone created a library that is many codes already existed that you import and use. The people define the functions, define the codes, and using libraries. You don't need to create the codes because someone created to you to use. You use pre-existing codes to work with some kind of things. The Pandas is a library that someone created the very codes to work with data, shared, and it becomes so popular that you can install it in your Python and use. Pandas is one of the most popular libraries in Python. This comes with the Colab. When you start to use the Google Colab to code in Python, you don't need to install the Pandas because it is already existent in Google Colab, because it's one of the most popular libraries in Python. This is The Pandas is come with Anaconda also. Anaconda is a pre-existent folder, a pre-existent package of libraries and smart libraries that you install, and have many libraries to work with data science, machine learning, deep learning, in the aspect of data, in the field of data. The Anaconda comes the PyTorch, TensorFlow, NumPy, Pandas, and the other libraries that is important to work with data. With the Anacondas, you don't need to install many libraries, install many things. You only need the Anaconda. Is more easier to people that work with data. I have been studying the Pandas and the Python in the internet, in the YouTube, doing codes by myself. I'm doing the Python for data in the Asimov Academy. Is a Brazilian free course is the biggest Python school in Brazil, Python course in Brazil, and having free courses, and I'm doing this Python for data. Is a exclusively Python course to understand the Pandas, the Python, and work with it to use the Pandas in Python. I'm using the Google Colab. The course uses the data of Brazilian government, but I tried to use this data, but the Brazilian government website today is stopped, isn't working. Then I captured some data of the Santander, the city that I live. I catch the data of Santander, the data of how Santander spend their money, and I analyzed it in Pandas. I'm learning them. It's difficult because the data is different than is the data in the course. But normally, no, not normally, but in the course table, the useful data is in the columns. No, not the useful, but in the course, the table is structured different than my table. My table is structured in the important data. Important is in the rows, and the other data is in the columns. But I don't know how work with this kind of table. I tried to transverse the table, to multiply the table for the transverse, to invert it, but it worked in the way that I can see the table changing, but I can't work with the table in this way. I asked for ChatGPT's help. It said to me to create an index and work with it in many ways. I'm learning. I started to learn Pandas many days, then I'm trying. I think that I will need to create an index and learn how to work with this kind of data. Create an index of the education. I'm trying to see the data of education and create an index to specific kinds of data. Okay, have the index of education, have the index of jobs, of let me see. Have the index of security, have the index of education, have the index of policy, have the index of lawyers, have the index of sports, have many index that I can work instead of create variables with this index and don't need to always write some kind of code. Analyzing the data of my city, and I'm seeing the data of education because I'm thinking improving the education in my city. The 1/4 of the spent in my city is spent in education. The money of my city is 200 billion, 4 billion and 200 millions, and 900 millions is spent in education. Even so, the education in my city is bad. Almost 1 billion of reals is spent in education in my city, and even so the education is bad. I need to improve it, and I'm studying and seeing the PBIS and how improve the education. I will share what I'm doing, the tables, my codes. I will post everything in my GitHub. I posted, but I needed to complete the course, create a very analysis of this data. This GitHub that I created isn't complete. I'm working it, but you can see what I did and what I will do after. But you can see now what I did and my progress. I think that I needed to create a specific video about this repository, this data analysis, because this video is a more data learning the Pandas, and create a specific video talking about the costs of my city, the money of my city, the education, improve the education. This is what I did. You can see the table. I created a variable that connect with the path of the data. In this way, I don't need to put every time the entire path. I only need to use the variable. After I imported the pandas, created a variable to read the CSV file that is the data, the variable that I created, and I separate every table or column with the sep equal dot column, because without it the code have a real and I can't use without it. I need this sep because I think it's a Brazilian code. This table works with a different kind of pattern than the other tables, and I need it to make the code work. After I put this PD set option, display.max rows none, because without it only shows the 5 first rows and the 5 last rows. I need this to show that to show our rows have our rows have 80 rows, and without it only show 10 rows. Then I need it to show the rows. After I put the variable, run it, and it show the code because I run the variable. This is the entire sheet, my first code in Pandas. Here you have the entire cost of my city, that is 4 billion. And here you have the money that education have. After, I will create many codes in the GitHub to separate it better, to make it better, to have a clean code, a clean GitHub, to see everything good after. I created a copy. It's almost the same thing, but I explained with the texts, with the sharp, and I multiplied the data, the data frame data for the transverse and make it transverse is matrices. This is based on matrices. You remember the matrix that I studied in school and I made videos. This is the matrices that I need now to understand the data, to work with data science, machine learning. Yes, I should study more the matrices and the mathematics. Then, as you can see, I multiplied the data frame for the transverse and put now the variable data. Now it's changed the rows for the columns, as you can see here. It's the same thing but changed. But this isn't working. I created a variable to make a specific row, specific column that see our education, our costs of education, but this don't work. This math don't change the row, the table. I don't understood, but don't work it. Don't know why, but don't work it. This is the operation that I tried to do. But put these columns here, sum, and make one column about education. But don't work, and don't know why. Then I asked for ChatGPT's help, and it make the calculation of the total cost of the education in my city. This is the code that it did. It imported the Pandas as PD, defined a variable called df data frame, read the data, separated, typed every column, every row as a string. This is the d-type str, the string. Removed the dots. Removed the dots to make it a number and remove the dots and change the commas for dots and remove the dots. Don't know if it's removed the dots, replaced the commas for dots, and typed it float. The rejects I don't understood. Turned a valor orçado atualizado em a numeric. Okay, I understood that it removed the dots and it transformed the commas for dots, transformed everything in a float, and it worked. Because you need to change the strings that is text to the Python to floats or inters or ints to make calculations and arithmetics. Okay, after it pick the exactly 5 rows of the Secretaria de Educação and the costs, the valor orçado atualizado. Have two options, have the option A and B. The option A by interposition and the option B by filtering the Quebra column. Here have the columns that the education is the 62 and 66. It is selected and use the lock, I think, to count, but it selected these rows and these costs. And the option B that I don't understood. Okay, it created a variable called the rows 62, 66, defining the lock, that frame dot lock. I don't know what is it, but I need to know. 62, 66, the rows and the costs, valor orçado atualizado. Here the total educação is equal the variable sum. It is sum every rows and printed carrying the variable and selecting only 2 characters after the column. It showed this message that the costs of education in my city is 939,469,859 and 44 cents of reals. It is in reals. Almost 1 billion of reals. It's like $200 $100, $100 million. It is what my city have to invest in education. Okay, I think I'm understanding the code, understanding the option A, what it did, the option B don't, but I'm improving, I'm understanding better the pandas, what I can do. I'm doing the course and working hard to understand the pandas. I will make a good repository analyzing the costs of my city, the data, to really understand the data, how to work with it. This is the library Pandas, what you can do, the beginning, the introduction of the Pandas. This is to beginners, I know, but I need the knowledge of the beginners because I'm a beginner. Then I will read it more, try to understand it better, try to understand how to work with this table because it's different than the one that the guy is doing in the course. I will show the course. I'm almost finished, but almost not have many classes. I have a few classes, but I'm trying to go really deep. Then it will have more time to finish. I will really understand this data, really understand how to work with this data, make a good repository with good folders, with everything that I want to know about it, really understand. I will don't go really deep into the pandas in the data science. Only we work with pandas because I have other things to know, other things to learn. But I will go deep into this project, into this sheet, in this table. I will do the best I can. Watch videos in internet, searching the Panda source, watch the course, ask for ChatGPT, go deep into this project to understand the pandas. I hope you like it. Thank you for your attention. Bye.